Good morning. My name is Monique Harden, and I'm co-director and attorney with Advocates for Environmental Human Rights. We're a public interest law firm here in New Orleans, and it's really hard for me to compose myself after hearing such tragic testimony from Roderick, and knowing that his story is compounded by so many others who went through similar harsh, brutal treatment. My comments, I want to focus in on the ways in which the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina has come to the attention of international human rights jurists and officials working within the United Nations, who recognize that the human rights, particularly of African Americans, were not only violated in the days and weeks after Hurricane Katrina, but continue to be violated to this day. The report by Critical Resistance, which makes the case for amnesty, is an important report to focus in on that this is a human rights issue. Being charged with crimes and having no mechanism or opportunity to stand before a court and defend yourself, and you're just being stored and warehoused in these at the Greyhound bus station and other places around the state, is a human rights violation. Specifically, the United States government has ratified 3 treaties that would make what happened here illegal. The first is the Convention on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which calls for freedom from racial discrimination, as well as freedom of equal treatment before courts and judicial administrations. The other is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which calls on our government to protect the right to life, which it failed to do numerous times, and the right to racial equality and freedom from discrimination, again, violated by our U.S. government. The third is the Convention Against Torture, which sets out a number of provisions so that people who are incarcerated have a fair process in which to win back their liberty. That was also violated by our U.S. government. Amnesty is the only thing that will work to remedy the situation that was caused in the days after Katrina, where being black was tantamount to being a criminal. And without amnesty, there is no recovery. Amnesty has to be a priority in the recovery of this city and this state. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Torrance Sanders, a local pastor, and I'm here today. I want to first commend Critical Resistance on this outstanding report that they have done to highlight the injustices that were committed pre and post Katrina and to many of our people. Katrina washed away a lot of buildings. It washed away a lot of schools, a lot of hospitals, but it did not and should not have washed away the rights of people. It did not wash away the dignity of people. And the way that people were treated who were just merely trying to survive, being called looters when they were trying to sustain themselves and their families, was wrong. To leave people in prison without benefit of an attorney and without benefit of seeing a judge and going to places far and beyond where their families even knew where they were, it was wrong. To have people forced to plead guilty just so that they can get out, so that they can see their family members and friends and find where they were, was wrong. And so we stand today, and I stand with everyone here today and many thousands more who cannot make it today to speak for themselves, to say it was wrong how you were treated, and this government deserves to make it right. And the only way to make it right is to erase at least the record of what was happened in terms of the need for expungement and the need for pardon, because that is the only moral thing to do. Yes. People's lives will be affected for decades to come, for generations to come, because of the mistreatment by our government of human beings, of citizens of New Orleans. And so we stand here today and we say, make it right. Critical Resistance has worked with a dozen or 24 people who we can say today, right now, they deserve relief. They deserve an expungement. They deserve a pardon right now. And there are many others. But we say to the governor, to the mayor, and to all those who sit in the seats of power, power. Some of those people voted for you, and now yet they come to you for assistance and you turn your backs on them. We say shame on you if you do not hear the cry of these people and of the people who are mistreated and respond to their need so that they too can have justice in New Orleans post-Katrina. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Denise LaBeouf. I'm an attorney here in New Orleans. I was able to assist on a voluntary basis with the reform of the Orleans Public Defender's Office. And I'm here today to say that the proposal that you have for amnesty for Katrina victims is a modest... Closer? Sorry. The proposal for amnesty for Katrina victims is a modest proposal. It's a practical, workable solution. It's not extreme, and it moves us forward, and that's what people want to do. When we hear about these egregious human rights violations, the terrible conditions that we all know happen, that if you talk to people like Roderick who endured these things, it removes the impediment for people who were so unfairly tainted with this terrible human rights violations. It removes impediments to housing. It removes impediments to employment. It's the only fair thing to do. The mechanisms exist in the law today, and yet those mechanisms can be enhanced by calling on everyone from volunteer attorneys to the mayor, to the city council, to the governor, to the legislature to assist in enhancing those mechanisms. But they're here, they work, they're in the law, they're available today. We're only calling for amnesty for people charged with non-violent offenses. We're only talking about people who were charged and kept for many, many months past the conviction could have obtained had they been convicted at the time, for people who were held in these horrible conditions at Hunt and Wynn and other places. And I want to tell you why I say that this is a practical, workable, modest proposal is to say I stand before you also as the beneficiary of amnesty. In 1970, when I graduated from college in the Northeast at Hunter College in New York City, many of us were protesting the war in Vietnam, and we shut down college campuses across this country. I could not have graduated had not my college seen fit to provide amnesty for the protesters. I got that amnesty. I got my college degree. I was able to go to graduate school. I was able to go to law school because of that amnesty. Amnesty works. We should have it.
So I'd like to thank again everyone for coming out today on this International Human Rights Day, and think about the recommendations and remedies for amnesty for prisoners of Katrina. We are asking for expungements to clear people's records whose cases were affected by the storm, ensuring them a fair trial and a right to rebuild their lives, and also executive pardons to do the same. Thank you all for coming out. Are there any questions?